Hello everyone to the hyperautomation webinar with AI Business Services. So the complete topic for today is automating financial shared service centers with SAP S/4HANA, SAP Intelligent Robotic Process Automation, and SAP AI Business Services. Let's get started. My name is Nusch, and I'm part of the product management team for AI Business Services. And as briefly explained, in this session, we will basically learn how SAP AI Business Services empowers the SAP Shared Service Center framework in order to reduce cost and headcount, basically by increasing the automation level. And we will take the example of vendor invoice inquiries, which will enter the shared service center. And by increasing the automation level, we can also reduce the error rates when it comes to delivering customer service and improve the overall service delivery quality. This session will cover 3 of our AI business services, and those are business entity recognition, document information extraction, and service ticket intelligence from our portfolio. Please ask questions via the chat, or then you can also raise the hand virtually, and then you can get unmuted and ask the question verbally. And before diving into the demo, and before explaining, let's say, the overall business scenario, I want to start with this, I think, quite powerful quote. So in the near future, by 2020, 2022, nearly 2/3 of the customer service interactions will no longer require a human intermediary. So this quote from Gartner, I think we all agree that this is exactly talking about the service automation and improvement when it comes to customer service interactions. And this is exactly the scenario which we'll cover today in this guided demo session. I already explained this scenario will cover the SAP AI Business Services, and I want to explain before we look into the business scenario. I want to explain where the SAP AI Business Services are placed within the whole SAP universe. So our AI Business Services are part of the Business Technology Platform and part of the area of intelligent technologies. In particular, the AI Business Services are basically reusable cloud services based on AI. And out of the complete portfolio of SAP AI Business Services, today we will take a look at 3 of those services. And those are document information extraction, business entity recognition, and service ticket intelligence. And all those services basically facilitate the usage of AI in a compliant and enterprise-ready way. The services are easy to consume because they are RESTful services, or they offer RESTful services, and hence they can be integrated in an easy way into existing or into custom business scenarios. Before now diving into the demo, let's take a look at the overall business scenario around this demo. So the business challenge, which we see by looking at our customers, is that a lot of our customers have the business challenge that there is a high workload of internal and external standard inquiries about various topics. As explained earlier, today we want to focus on the vendor invoice inquiry case. So the service request, which we will see later in the demo, is exactly this case. So we will have a vendor asking basically for the invoice status, but overall, the complete use case can also be transferred to other standard inquiries as well. So now the service request enters the shared service center organization and needs to be processed. And what we will cover today is basically the integration of the shared service framework, the SAP Shared Service Framework, combined with 3 of our AI services. The first service, called Service Ticket Intelligence, basically first classifies the incoming service request into custom service request categories or ticket categories. In a second step, our 2 services, Business Entity Recognition, will extract business entities or named entities from the service request itself. So with regards to our example, it will extract the invoice number from the service request. In a second step, document information extraction will pick any attachments which are related to the service request or which are related or attached to the service request coming in via email. And document information extraction will extract structured information from those unstructured documents. So, for example, from an invoice which is attached in form of a PDF to the request email. Later on, shared service, the SAP Shared Service Framework will basically get the invoice status from the backend, from the SAP S/4HANA system. Then in the last step, either an agent can manually process this service request, or even a RPA bot can automatically process this, let's say, standard service request without the need of human intervention. And overall, I think this will get clear. The clear benefit of automating and improving this scenario is clearly that the repetitive tasks for the service center agent gets minimized, and this then frees time for the service center agents to focus on more value-creating tasks. And by the way, the also very important side effect is also when we improve this process, we can also provide a much faster and more accurate response to the service requester. So now let's directly switch to the demo. So here I'm already logged in into the SAP Shared Service Center, and I can see currently there are no open service requests for my team or for the team I'm handling. So now I will switch the persona, and I will switch into the persona of John. And John is basically asking now our company about the payment status with regards to this invoice here. So the invoice which ends with the number 892. So you can see already here, this is overall, this is a request asking for the invoice status. We also provide the invoice number explicitly in the text. And there's also a PDF attachment attached to this email. Let me quickly open it. And you can see here, the invoice number is also part of the invoice PDF. Now the expectation is, of course, when I now send this invoice status request to our shared service center, that we can actually see the automation I was talking about. So let's send this one. And now within a couple of seconds, I should see, or I'm expecting to see, a new open service request. Let's give it a couple of seconds. Here we go. So we can see, okay, there is a new service request. Description is invoice status. This is also taken from the email subject line. Let's open this one. And we can see the magic has already happened. So as explained earlier, the service ticket intelligence already provided the categorization. So, or the classification of the incoming request. This basically has happened based on the content of the request. So based on the email which I sent, which we can, by the way, also open here. So this is exactly the email I was sending a couple of seconds ago. Until today, we have not responded to our first reminder, blah, blah, blah. By the way, invoice is this invoice number 892. And based on this request text, this categorization has happened. So we can see the first level category has been set to accounts payable, and the second level category has been set to accounts payable invoice status, which is exactly the scenario. And what's very important here is that those categories have to be trained on your customer data. So service ticket intelligence takes historical data or historical categorizations or classifications in order to learn the customer specific categories. So those first level and second level categories have been learned from historical classifications and are now, let's say, applied to this new request here. So this is already good. That and of course here the clear advantage is that based on the category, the corresponding team can already be assigned and the routing can happen accordingly. So now the next step is that we want to further automate the invoice status processing. So instead of manually going into the backend and checking for the invoice status, we of course want to optimize this process. And we can see here, if I switch to the invoice, go to edit list and then to invoice status, we can see here that our two services, document information extraction, or the abbreviation we typically use is docs, has extracted the invoice number from the PDF. And by the way, we can also check the attachment. So this is exactly the PDF, which I showed to you earlier. Let's also open this up side by side. And you will see that this invoice also ends with exactly this 892. You see the service while the invoice is loading. We can also see that the service does not only extract the entity or the entities which it finds, but it also returns a confidence value. And we can see here the confidence is actually pretty high, so at 99%. So the machine learning service is quite certain that this is exactly the invoice number found on this invoice. And we can confirm this. Yes, exactly correct. 892 is the invoice number found. And by the way, we can also see a second line. So the source here is our second service, business entity recognition. And business entity recognition actually took the full text of the service request and extracted the invoice number from the free text. And in this case, they are the same. So the invoice numbers extracted, but of course they could be different. And now the shared service center basically provides instructions for me as the shared service center agent via this checklist functionality below. So now I can execute the first step here, check invoice status. And then I can already see, so I switch back to the Invoice Status tab, that the single invoice here, so it's actually the same, is in status posted. So what does that mean? The invoice is in reconciliation, and the supplier will receive the payment soon. And this is now exactly the status which we want to provide back to the requester. So again, I can switch back to the checklist, and I just have to click on Send Email Notification, and then you will see, okay, the status has switched to Answer Provided, and I can save this service request, and I'm done here. Yeah, and by the way, this Send Email Notification is also using a template, a predefined template for this category, for accounts payable invoice status, in order to reply with the standard email template. So now we can go back into our inbox and open the reply from our system. Yes, we can see, okay, we get this information back that our invoice number is actually in status posted, which is exactly what we were asking for. If I quickly switch back to the shared service center, we can also take a look at the service level agreements. So I mean, our overall goal was to really speed up the process. And now, obviously, I explained all the different, let's say, facets and machine learning services here, but you can really speed up the whole accounts payable invoice status process, up to only that the processing only takes a couple of seconds here, and with such standard replies, you can really optimize and speed up business processes, powered by machine learning. And this really shows really the business value by heavily decreasing the time required for processing the tickets. And this, by the way, also positively impacts the service level agreements. Okay, so I hope that this demo has provided some insights into the process. Let me switch back to the presentation. Now I want to deep dive a little bit into the services, into the AI business services which were involved. And I explained it a little bit on the go already, but let's take a deeper look into the services and how they work. So already explained, the first step was really the classification of tickets, or the classification of the service requests. And this is done by Service Ticket Intelligence, or in short, STI, which really classifies, clusters, and also recommends tickets automatically. And the clustering and the ticket recommendation is something which we have not seen today, but still it's a capability of the AI Business Service. We have focused today on the classification. So here, this is a different example. But the service could also, for example, identify here the category of the request as, for example, this would be an authorization request. And remember, how is the service doing that? It's basically looking at the text input, so really the content of the service request. And as also explained, this service really trains on your data. So in the end, you have a custom classifier based on your own, let's say, service business, with, of course, your own category and your own proposed solutions. The next service, which we had seen in the demo, was the service which took again, also the text input of the service request, and which extracted entities from the full text. And the service involved here is called Business Entity Recognition. And this service extracts business entities. We have seen the invoice number in the demo example, but another example could be, for example, the extraction of payment period, currency, and city from this input. Business entity recognition comes with 2 pre-trained machine learning models, but you can also train it on your data for full flexibility. And for example, also based on your on the languages in which your service tickets usually enter your system. And last but not least, the service document information extraction was responsible for scanning the attachment. So really looking at the PDF, so the document image, which was attached to the service request. And document information extraction can extract structured information from business documents, which could, for example, be invoices, but which could also be, for example, payment advices, sales orders, or business cards, to give you some other examples. The service does not only extract information from unstructured documents, but it can also enrich the information found by matching it to uploaded master data. And then it can, for example, provide the extracted information. In this case, for example, invoice number ends with 833. Document date has been extracted as the 15th of October 2020, and the invoice amount is 1,523, for example, US dollars. Document information extraction basically comes with currently 2 pre-trained models, and there are more to come. Currently, we are focusing on invoices and payment advices for our pre-trained machine learning models for document information extraction. And before we switch to the Q&A part, I quickly want to explain you the architecture. So, as briefly explained at the beginning, all the services are provided as reusable services on the SAP Business Technology Platform within the Cloud Foundry environment. They are really provided as RESTful APIs, and they can therefore be consumed for any kind of integration, be it with an SAP application or also with a non-SAP application. The access to the service is secure through an HTTPS connection, and authentication happens via OAuth 2.0. And optionally, you can also connect or you can also build secure connections with on-premise landscapes via the connectivity service and the cloud connector. So you can connect our AI business services not only to SAP and non-SAP cloud applications, but also to on-premise environments. And with this flexible architecture, you can really improve any business process or application with artificial intelligence. And one of the last slides I want to show you today are basically our consumption options. So we are currently working or heavily investing into integrating our services natively into SAP business applications. You can find a couple of examples below. So we are working on embedding our services into Concur invoice capture, for example, also into SAP Cash App. Plus, we have several scenarios when it comes to Business by Design and SAP S/4HANA. You can also build custom automation scenarios with SAP Intelligent RPA, and we also provide best practice packages and bot templates to make it easier to consume our AI services with SAP Intelligent RPA. And last but not least, you can also leverage the other services running on the SAP Business Technology Platform, to build your own custom business scenario. So one idea could be that you take SAP Cloud Integration as the cloud middleware in order to call our services, such as document information extraction. And you could, for example, combine it with business rules and business workflow in order to, for example, only process invoices automatically where the fields got extracted with a high confidence, and in case only a low confidence is provided by the service because the machine learning algorithm is, let's say, a little bit uncertain, then you could, for example, trigger a workflow, and then you can put the human into the loop in order to double check the results before let's say, triggering any further process steps. And last but not least, we also offer tutorials for all of our services. So please find them behind those links, or you can also Google for that. So just search for our AI Business Services and tutorials, and then you can also get your hands dirty with our AI Business Services and learn how to use them. Yeah, and now I think we still have some time for some Q&A. And I can see that some questions have already been asked in the chat. On the Q&A. Okay, there's a question. Is this demo available in the demo catalog? So I'm not exactly sure which demo catalog you are referring to. But definitely this demo will be, or this recording of this webinar will be made available. So yeah, you can of course reuse that. If you can clarify which demo catalog you're referring to, that would be great. Are there any further questions? Then please raise your hand and then we can unmute you. Otherwise, I think there are no open questions. The demo you presented, okay, you can. So the demo, so there is now a question coming in. If the demo I presented today is something you can redo by using the tutorials. Basically, more or less, so the service is using the shared service center. The shared service center is not part of the tutorials which I linked, but you can consume the services or play around with the service on an individual level. So let's say, yeah. So for example, you could call them via Postman or via the Swagger UI. And yes, okay. Now there was the clarification that the SAP demo store that pre-sales is using. Yes, the service is also available on the SAP demo store. Yes. Thanks for that question. And with that, I think we answered all the questions. Thanks for the attention. And yeah, thank you and goodbye. Nice rest of the day.